Hi there! Welcome once again to World Cup Daily, brought to you by Rabona TV and a guy named Adrian. As always, if you're finding us for the first time, then let me tell you what's up. We go through every match on the day, see what impact it has on the standings, and preview the next day's matches. If that sounds nice to you, then by all means, subscribe. And I'll love you for it. And say hi in the comment section, of course. Say hello. Oh yeah, and just a note, I have a family thing to go to in a bit, so there will be a weird section of the video where I mysteriously change my appearance and then go back to normal again. That's also why this video is so damn late. I apologize. I apologize for future Adrian, but I will put in a night shift to get it done for you guys and out ASAP. Because I care. Alright, the first match of the day was between Australia and Denmark, and let's just change the rules for this World Cup to just a straight penalty shootout for each match, because we've seen so many penalties so far, thanks in large part to VAR. But before we get to the penalty, let's talk about the filthy, disgusting thing that Jorgensen and Eriksson cooked up in the 6th minute. A failed Australian clearance found its way to Nikolaj Jorgensen, who took one touch to himself and then another to flick the ball behind him, where an on-rushing Christian Eriksen was waiting in the wings to smash it in with his left peg. One of the goals of the tournament so far, just based on the pass to set it up and the unbelievable finish, in my opinion. That goal meant that Eriksen has been involved in 14 of Denmark's last 20 goals, with 5 assists and 9 goals for himself. Also, it meant that Australia has stretched their poor defending record to 12 matches without a clean sheet in the World Cup. Eriksen does lose some points for his terrible knee slide though. That was brutal. One of the worst knee slides I've ever seen. The match did level out a bit. Jorgensen missed an absolute sitter, and Australia got the breakthrough that they yearned for thanks to, yet again, a penalty being awarded down to VAR review. The unlucky handballist on this occasion was Youssef Poulsen, or Yarari, whose arm was a little high and in an unnatural position, so I understand why it was given, and he was given a yellow card as well, which means he's going to be out for Denmark's next match against France. Emil Jedinak stepped up to convert once again for Australia, meaning he was the first player to score against Kasper Schmeichel in 2018, which ended his run of 9 hours and 31 minutes without conceding. Unlucky way to have it slip out of your grasp. Oh, and by the way, that's obviously internationally for Denmark, not counting Leicester as well. Jedinak is the penalty king for Australia, and with 3 goals at World Cups, is officially their second highest scorer in their tournament history. And he became the only player in the World Cup history to have scored 3 or more goals, and for all of them to have been penalties. Unfortunately though, when Jedinak scores for Australia, they don't win games. At least thus far, as every time he has scored for them in the tournament, they end up drawing or losing. And besides those 2 goals, the rest of the match saw the teams trade chances, with Denmark perhaps having the more dangerous of them, although Australia looked pretty damn good as well. I'd say that 1-1 was a worthy result for both teams, however. The other teams facing off in their group, France and Peru, went to war in Ekaterinburg. And can I just say right off the top, Peru is extremely fun to watch. They do lack a little bit of quality in the final third, and breaking through the French back line was an issue for them, but they were still pretty fun to watch for the most part. In fact, they probably should have taken the lead when Paulo Guerrero, who started, as I had predicted, because I am a World Cup winning manager, Guerrero cut inside on Umtiti, but his low-driven effort was directed at Hugo Lloris. Had that been in either corner, we would probably be talking 1-0 Peru. But it didn't, so we aren't. In fact, now we're talking 1-0 France, as a deflected strike from Olivier Giroud looped over Guillese in the Peruvian goal, and Kylian Mbappe was waiting right in front to tap into the yawning goal. That goal from Mbappe was of course his first in a World Cup tournament, making him the youngest French player to ever score in a World Cup at just 19 years and 183 days old. To put that into perspective, Mbappe was born 5 months after France won the World Cup in 1998. Also, gotta give a shout out to Paul Pogba, who won the ball in the Peruvian final third and played a killer pass through to Giroud. Pogba was pretty good in the first half. But then once France scored, they really began to take control of the game, able to build up slowly to create chances, or hit Peru on the counter with devastating speed. But in the second half, that ended, because in the second half, France went to sleep and cruise control. And all the opportunities went in Peru's direction, as they were unlucky to hit the bar in the first 5 minutes of the second half. From there, they moved the ball around the French defense nicely, but had a hard time breaking through and creating any meaningful opportunities that made Lloris work. And because of that, it ended 1-0 with France looking very unconvincing, but getting their second win of the tournament. Their win also means that Peru's second loss has eliminated them, as they won't be able to catch either Denmark or France. Speaking of which, why don't I just show you the table so you can see for yourself. France is in first with 6 points, as I just said. Denmark is in second with 4 and will just need a draw with France next match to advance. But they could do it while losing as well, depending on the other result. That other result being, Australia are in third and will need to beat Peru by a couple of goals and hope that Denmark loses to France in order for the Aussies to advance. How's that for an unintentional rhyme? And Peru, as I said, has been eliminated. It's too bad for Peru actually, because they controlled the play really nicely, but they ran out of ideas when it came to breaking down their opposition. Every single time. It happened against Denmark, and it happened against France as well. Not the easiest opponents for them, however. Denmark and France would be hard to play against, even for some of the bigger teams in the tournament. Argentina versus Croatia, and boy, what a first half this was. Unfortunately, however, the highlights of the first half were massive chances blown by each team, but that doesn't mean it wasn't exciting. First, there was the Lanzini replacement, Enzo Perez, who found himself staring at a relatively open goal after the ball ricocheted to his feet, and he wound up blowing it wide. That will add further fuel to the fire of the Argentinian fans that didn't want to see him there in the first place. Vrsaljko of Croatia made a good run with the ball down the right wing, cut inside and dropped an absolute dime for Mandzukic's semi-diving header. And it looked like Mandzukic was looking to tuck the ball into the near post, which Caballero may have saved, by the way, but Mandzukic fluffed his lines and ended up putting it wide. Now me, remember, I'm a former World Cup winner, so my opinion is very valid. I'm not just some Portuguese-Canadian kid. But if I was in that situation, perhaps just getting a good connection on the ball should have been the aim, and directing it back across goal is always very difficult for keepers. Anyways, he's scored bangers in Champions League finals, so who am I to tell him anything? Other than that, I'd say that Croatia had the more dangerous chances in the first half, with Perisic forcing a good save out of Caballero and Ante Rebic making an absolute mess of a beautiful through ball by Luka Modric. For Argentina, a certain someone went missing, as Lionel Messi had just 20 touches, less than everyone except for Sergio Aguero, and some credit has to be given to Croatia for icing those guys out, of course. And if you won't give them credit for that, then give them credit for what they did in the 52nd minute after Subasic made an easy save from a Sergio Aguero shot and rolled it wide to Vrsaljko, who tried to play Ante Rebic through. It didn't make it to Rebic, and Mercado passed back to Caballero. Here's where everything went wrong. Caballero tried to be cute with it and dink it over Rebic, but he sliced the fuck out of it, and Rebic just had to volley it home. And boy, did he ever, as although it was a goal that was given to him, basically, the technique was on point. However, Ante Rebic shouldn't have been on the pitch in my opinion, because the VAR was not on point. In the first half, Rebic had a little clash with Eduardo Salvio. Well, they had many, but in one in particular, Rebic intentionally raked Salvio's leg. That's endangering your opponent. Given the amount of clashes they had throughout the half, you could say it was intentional, even though intent doesn't show up in the laws of the game, and Rebic probably should have seen red, not yellow. In the last 10 to 15 minutes, Argentina looked really bad, and Luka Modric made them pay in the 80th minute when he cut to his right and hit a screamer past Caballero. And guys, from here, it went from safe for work to not safe for work, as Ivan Rakitic ensured that he will be at the tail end of some bad pranks, or just get sold next season, from Barcelona, as he went and made it 3-0 after Kovacic generously squared the ball to him. 3-0, and the destruction was complete. And I know that people are going to say I'm biased, but even neutrals and hell, even Messi fans would have to agree that he was completely invisible in this match. There was a couple of occasions in the second half when he tried to make something happen, but other than that, he was just a ghost. Just as Ronaldo was yesterday for Portugal, besides scoring the goal, by the way. And I only say that because I know that people were about to. But I'm focusing solely on Messi, and if he is to be considered the greatest of all time, then shouldn't he be doing more in these situations? Shouldn't a player that's lauded as the best ever be able to pull his team through no matter how poorly they're playing? He was invisible, the match ended, and he went straight down the tunnel. And I understand why, as this was the heaviest defeat that Argentina have suffered at a World Cup since 1958. But for Croatia, who look very dangerous, they're moving on to the round of 16. Now, Argentina will be hoping for a Nigeria win or a draw tomorrow when they face off against Iceland. In fact, let's get to tomorrow's matches now. Take it away, previous Adrian, who is wearing a Benfica kit. So the next match day, you can look forward to Brazil taking on Costa Rica. Neither of these teams looked great in their first match. For Brazil, that's probably a testament to Switzerland and how well they defended, and just genuinely made the match an absolute bother for Brazil to impose themselves on. But you'd expect more out of this Brazil side that made such easy work of their qualification campaign and boasts some of the best players in the tournament. Costa Rica, on the other hand, had a very similar match against Serbia, in which they were simply unable to crack through the giant Serbian back line. Things don't look good for this Costa Rican team, in my opinion, as I think Brazil are going to come out with a point to prove, and a Brazil with a point to prove is a scary Brazil. Oh, and speaking of having a point to prove, Nigeria will look to do just that as they take on Iceland. Nigeria were absolutely terrible in their first match, playing way below their potential. They're much better than what we saw against Croatia. However, they're going to have a very hard time against Iceland. I was actually listening to an interview with the Icelandic coach, and he said in a somewhat frustrated manner that everyone only ever focuses on the fact that they upset England, or their Viking clap, or the stories about the coach himself being a dentist and the keeper being a film director. And nobody talks about the fact that they finished at the top of their qualification group ahead of the likes of Croatia, Turkey, and the Ukraine. That's a fair point, and a reason why we shouldn't be as surprised anymore when Iceland get good results. Because they've been doing it steady for 2 years now. Hell, they almost even made it into the FIFA World Cup 2014, but they just got edged by Croatia in the playoff. And finally, it's an all-European affair between two teams with similar playing styles and similar skill levels, in my opinion. When Serbia take on Switzerland, two big physical teams clashing, with Serbia coming into this one with 3 points under their belt already, and Switzerland looking to build on their well-earned 1-1 draw with Brazil. However, I think the hardest workers were these Swiss fans that drove in a tractor for 2 weeks to get to the Swiss match against Serbia in Kaliningrad. God, that sounds like an awful way to travel, going max 40 kilometers per hour for over 1,800 kilometers. Hope they have AC in there. Okay, everybody, again, sorry this video is out so late. It may happen again on Saturday, but hopefully not. Regardless, thanks for watching, and thanks to everyone who has been watching consistently and commenting. I see you, and I appreciate you. My name is Adrian, this is Rabona TV, and we'll see you tomorrow. Or today, depending on when I get this uploaded. It could be tomorrow or today. Okay, peace.